I'd like to thank everyone for coming out here this evening. My name is Alex Landau. I'm a community member here in Denver. I was born and raised in Colorado, originally born from the Springs. I'm a domestic adoptee, and I was adopted when I was 2 days old into a loving family. Both my mom and my father are white. I spent a good majority of my childhood growing up in small rural communities, predominantly white, Conifer, Bailey. I graduated from an alternative charter school in Jefferson County. And I never really had the conversation in my home that so many of our youth of color are having before these incidents occur, after these incidents occur, after they see something on television. I never had the conversation that would prepare me for the true reality and the extent of the brutality that police can possibly engage in. I know that my parents didn't ever anticipate that something that I had to survive and endure. They never thought that I would have to go through something like that. My mom comes from Americus, Georgia, a small town. She grew up during the Civil Rights Movement. She can tell me stories about segregated bathrooms, segregated swimming pools, black folks not being able to go to her neighborhood and she's not allowed to go to black neighborhoods. And my dad is a Denver native. He comes from a law enforcement background. His father was a Denver cop, and my great-grandfather was a Denver cop. And they both fled. They fled this trend, this pattern that had been occurring in the home. My mom fleeing this southern mentality, small Americus, Georgia way of thinking. My dad breaking the chain and not wanting to become a law enforcement officer, became an environmental engineer, and my mom, she became a social worker. So they broke this trend that had been occurring in the home, and then they adopted 2 beautiful African-American children, and they had no real idea the impact on our identity. We weren't having these conversations. I can think back on situations that were clearly racist in hindsight, but I didn't understand that as a youth. I remember my very first racial interaction happened when I was 4 years old on the playground at West Jeff Elementary School. A kid no older than myself approached me and said we got into an altercation, and his retaliation was, not all white kids like to play with black kids. And I knew that hurt. I didn't even understand the depth of what he was saying, but I knew that my skin was something that I couldn't change. I didn't think it was fair. And I honestly I don't believe that this individual had a true understanding of what he was even saying. This was language that was being passed down in his home. So I move out, I graduate, I put enough money together to buy my own car, buy an 84 Lincoln Town Car. If you're not familiar with what that looks like, it's a big body. If you've seen The Godfather, something somebody might reference as a mob-style vehicle, very profile vehicle. I'm in my first year of college. I'm living in the student dorms. I'm paying my way. And then I get a phone call to come pick a friend of mine up. Late night, January. So I'm driving around, and I didn't think I was in a hurry. I'm going downtown. It's a little after midnight. I pick him up. We're heading back towards our side of town. I lived on Colfax and Potomac, and he lived on Colfax and Tamarack. So we're heading eastbound. We're driving through the Capitol Hill neighborhood in District 6 when we were pulled over. My passenger was white, by the way. So we were pulled over on 16th and Emerson. We had stopped to try to hit the ladies right there. Overshot him and went to turn around. Growing up my entire life, I had never been taught how to navigate interactions with law enforcement. I was never taught how to navigate my civil rights. I was never taught that an officer might have a negative agenda and want to hurt me because of the way I look. So Officer Nixon comes to my window and he asks me if I can provide my license, registration, and proof of insurance. I didn't have my wallet on me at the time. I didn't think anything of it. My registration was up to date. My insurance was up to date. I had a social security number that I had memorized. I had no outstanding warrants. I never had a traffic violation. So I thought everything would be fine. And as he goes around on my passenger side, gives him his ID, goes back to his squad car, and The energy that was in the air that night was just off. Something was different about this particular encounter. When he comes back to the car, he wants us to get out. He says he can detect an aroma of weed coming from within the vehicle. And now we need to get out. So I'm asking him if I can see a warrant. No response. Again, I asked him, can I see a warrant? No response. Just get out. So I agreed to get out of the car. Pats me down, standard procedure. Doesn't find anything on me. Tells me to go stand at the front of the squad car, which was about 10 feet behind us. 5 to 10 feet behind us. And then another squad car arrived on the scene. And at this point, I'm sitting there thinking, what's going on? You know, 2 more officers, Officer Randy Middleton, Tiffany Middleton, approached Ricky Nixon at my car, and they're going through my car. They've got my passenger in handcuffs. He had a little bit of weed in his coat pocket. Put him in handcuffs. I thought he might receive a ticket at best. I was still not being detained. I thought that since I didn't have handcuffs on me, I could have a conversation with these officers. Be a human. We could have a humane conversation. I figured there were 3 of them there, plus I'm 19 years old. What's the threat? But I didn't understand that being a black male, especially in North America, automatically makes you a threat, especially to officers who are out with a negative agenda. So as I put my hands out to the side, as again to reiterate, to be as non-threatening as possible. And I asked them in a very calm voice if I could see a warrant before they continued searching my car, because that had never been answered. And immediately I was grabbed. Randy Murr on my left arm, Tiffany Middleton on my right arm, and Ricky Nixon turned around and looked at me and said, "You don't have a license," and began to hit repeatedly in the face. He hit me with enough force. Meanwhile, Officer Randy Murr and Tiffany Middleton are over here. Stop resisting. Calm down. You don't do that. Manufacturing this dangerous scene. Transpiring this completely unnecessary turn of events. And Tiffany Middleton slips backwards over the curb. And instead of letting my arm go, she pulls me in close. Brings me down right on top of her, sandwiching me between herself and 2 other officers who were still standing over the top of me, hitting me in the back of the head. Completely immobilized, all I could do is look up. I look up, and my gaze is met with her radio. She's managed to take off her radio. She's using this as a weapon to strike me. She's hitting me multiple times beneath my right eye. I can feel the blood starting to flow down my face. I couldn't see out of my right eye immediately. Immediately, the swelling started to kick in. And then I hear another officer shout, "He's reaching for a gun. He's reaching for a gun." And all I could do was yell, "No, I'm not. I'm not reaching for anything. No, I'm not." I don't know if you're familiar with 16th and Emerson, but it's a very quiet street. A lot of renovated Victorian homes. There are now law offices. There's new condominiums over there. There's rehabilitation centers. Nothing that would be open at 12:45 in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning. The busyness of Colfax doesn't spill onto 16th. And if you're familiar with the location of District 6, it's about a block away. You hit it with a rock from where it pulled over. And this went out over the radio that a 19-year-old black male is attempting to disarm a police officer. So some ran. Some didn't even hop in their squad cars. They just ran over. Others blocked off the streets. Washington and 16th and Emerson, so no one could go east or west, north or south. And I get grabbed around the throat. I get hoisted backwards off of Middleton, and I start getting pummeled on the top of the head with what I later found out was a police-issued mag flashlight. Officer Randy Murr couldn't even count how many times he hit me. Meanwhile, officers are just responding to this scene, this manufactured scene of violence, right? This dangerous situation, this crazy black criminal who's attempting to disarm a police officer. So as other officers are swarming in, I get thrown back to my face, and they continue to beat me. Tiffany Middleton's no longer beneath me. They've removed her from the altercation. And at this point, an officer says, if he doesn't calm down, shoot him. Wow. And at this point, I can see an officer's hand gripping the handle of a firearm. I can feel the cold steel pressed up against my temple. You can see his finger on the trigger, and I closed my eyes and expected to be shot. And then I lost consciousness. I lost consciousness and I awoke to being grabbed at the ankles and rolled out of the gutter. Passenger's front wheel and the gutter, my face was right in between both of those. So I'm getting rolled and drug backwards across the grass, and I can hear the officers laughing about what had just happened. Business as usual. You don't know how close you were to getting your fucking head blown off. Where's that warrant down, you fucking nigger? Adding insult to injury. And as I lay bleeding out, fading in and out of consciousness on an officer's jacket, paramedics arrive. And they approach me, and I think it's a police officer, and I'm like, don't hit me anymore. I really don't think I can take it. Near death at this point. She says, relax, I'm a paramedic. And I said, why'd they beat me so badly? I didn't do anything wrong. It's all transpired because of an alleged illegal left turn, which later proved to be false. That was the initial reason for the contact, was an alleged illegal left turn. So now I'm laying there dying. And my first thought was, I don't have insurance. I can't even afford this ambulance ride. You need to leave. I don't know how bad my injuries are, but I am not willing to pay for a ride to the hospital. And as they were packing up and getting ready to leave, I decided to change my mind. And I said, yes, put me on that stretcher. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today. So as soon as I get into the ambulance, they send an accompanying officer with me. And I start to go into shock. But before I go into shock, I tell the paramedics that get everything prepped, ready to clean me up. They've got gauze, they've got liquids, all of these things, the IV bag, and I tell them, no, don't touch me, don't clean me, don't do anything until somebody takes pictures of this. Now I'm in the care of the paramedics on my way to the hospital. I'm demanding these photos be taken. And at that point, I start to go into shock. My body gets real cold. Hair starts to stand up on end. I begin to seize violently. And the only thing that I would allow them to do to me was apply an oxygen mask. It got down to the point where, if you don't let us do something, we might not make it. So I was able to stabilize myself with an oxygen mask. And she goes to insert the IV, and I tell her, no. No, I don't want any needles in my arm right now. And the accompanying officer, starts to laugh and says, oh, he can take a beating, but he can't take a needle in his arm. What a pussy. Wow. Again, reiterating the mentality of these officers. So they finally wheel me through Denver General's front emergency room entrance, and I just began to yell. This is how Denver police treats their community members after dark. This is what can happen to black men in this community. Officers circled me, and they told everybody sitting in the waiting room, do not get involved. Do not approach us or say anything, or you'll be arrested for interference. That's a line that we're very familiar with. So eventually, after two officers had come in and tried to get statements out of me, I'm telling them, no, I'm not going to speak to you until an attorney is present. Where are my pictures? So now that I'm in the care of Denver Health, even though I'm in custody, handcuffed to a stretcher at my ankles and my wrist, I can't even move. They can't release me into the care of the city jail until they close up the lacerations in my face. I might be in custody, but the doctor can't legally release me into their custody until they at least close up my face. So now that they're in this position, an officer finally came in to take pictures of my face. And then they treated me, 45 stitches, a broken nose, and a concussion, and it was right off to jail. Somebody who had just suffered such a beating needed bed rest. Right? Time to recover, time to let the pus and blood ooze, and things need to begin to heal. But no, they didn't even escort me over there in an ambulance. They put me in the back of the sheriff's paddy wagon, along with two other individuals, and took us all to jail. If you're familiar with the setup of the jail, the sheriffs run the internal sector. They don't have arresting power. They transport people who are under arrest. And no one was surprised. Sheriffs weren't surprised. The other inmates weren't surprised. They knew right away that the police had done this. They falsely charged me with criminal intent to disarm a peace officer. And the most painful part about this entire experience was was when my mom came to visit me in jail. I had been desensitized after surviving this beating, having the wherewithal to demand photos, and then knowing that I am now facing some very serious charges that could land me in prison if I'm convicted. When my mom came, I remember she came to visit me while I was at the old city jail. And I'm shackled up at the wrists, around the waist, at the ankles. They're marching me down off the felony floor. Lights on 24 hours a day. Hadn't even had an opportunity to see my face. I see my mugshot. I'm bleeding through my stitches. But that's all I got to see. And then I see my mom. I had enough courage to muster up a smile. And I look at her. She just becomes hysterical. She grabs the strange woman next to her and turns her around and says, "Look at what they did to my son." The majority of my face black and blue, 45 stitches. Eyes swollen closed. And then it was right down to business. Unfortunately, I only have 1 minute and 30 seconds, so I need to be quick. I need to relay some crucial information, and now I need to go. Yanked away, stripped away. My mother's love on the other side of this glass, but it's back to my cell, and I don't know when the next time I'll be able to see her is. I don't know if she was cognizant enough to relay the information I just told her. So this was the catalyst for me into this movement. This is the reason why I'm here today. After watching my criminal charges eventually get dismissed, after being able to procure a civil settlement against the city and county of Denver, and meeting amazing other individuals who have suffered at the hands of the same officers, and then watching this root and create a ripple effect throughout my entire community, not just here in Denver, but around the globe. This is why we're here tonight. Because we need to mobilize. We need to eliminate horizontal hostilities, and we need to hone in on the overlap. Because if we don't, the next incident here in Denver could create total chaos. Thank you. My name is Alex Landau.